the P2JB or Patience to Jailbreak, the new kernel exploit that works up to firmware 12.70 on the PS5. The easiest option is to use the YouTube application, which we've covered before, but that only works up to firmware 12.40, whereas these other methods work all the way up to firmware 12.70. First, we had Star Wars Racer Revenge with the Lua Core exploit that could be used to load the jailbreak with that game. Then we got the Japanese games. So certain Japanese games that use the Artemis game engine, those ones could also be used to load the jailbreak. And now we have the Yarpe exploit, which uses this game, Arcade Spirits The New Challengers, and this particular version comes to us from Matem6, the same developer behind the YouTube version of P2JB, and this particular version works with the PS4 version of the game and the PS5 version, so you just need to have a physical copy or a digital copy that is runnable on your console up to firmware 12.70, and it can be the PS4 version of the game or the PS5 version of the game, and you can use this to jailbreak the console up to 12.70 and unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak. It would be better to get the PS4 version because you can copy PS4 saves between your console and a USB drive, which you cannot do with PS5 saves. So if you have the PS5 version of the game, you have to restore the backup file, which resets your console. Whereas if you have the PS4 version with an activated account, you can, of course, install the save manually off a USB drive without resetting your console. So I have the PS4 version here installed. So first of all, we need to head over to our settings, go to System, System Software, Console Information, check to see if you're on a compatible firmware to jailbreak. So you can see here, this number is your firmware version, mine is 12.0, but you can do this up to firmware 12.70. So firmware is 12.70, you can use this to jailbreak up to that firmware. So from there, if we head back and go to System Software Updates and Settings, we want to make sure Download Update Files and Install Update Files are both unchecked. And also, for now, we're going to head back up to our network settings and uncheck the box to connect to the internet. So there's two ways that you can install this, of course. You can either install the save manually if you have an activated account, which does not require resetting your console and losing all of your installed applications and save data, or if you don't have an activated account, the quickest way is to just restore a backup file which will reset your console. So to tell if you have an activated account, quickest way, I guess, is just to log out of your existing account. And then when you go into the sign in screen before you log in, you can check to see if your accounts are activated by pressing options under any of your accounts and seeing if this menu pops up, the login as online, busy, or appear offline. If any of these options appear, then your account is activated. If none of your accounts have that menu, when you press options on them, then you do not have any activated accounts, and the only way for you to run this is to restore the backup file, which will reset your console. So you'll have to be okay with completely resetting your console if you do not have an activated account. So we'll start with the easiest method, which is restoring the backup file if you don't have an activated account. So we're going to go ahead and download the Yarpe plus P2JB 7-zip file here. So download that. That is the backup file. And then we want to grab ourselves a USB drive, right-click on the drive, and go to Properties, make sure that the file system is exFAT. And if it's not, you can right-click and, of course, reformat it in exFAT format. And make sure you back up any data on the drive before reformatting it. Then what we can do is grab our backup file, right here, the 7-zip file. You'll need 7-zip or WinRAR to open this. And then we can go ahead and extract the PS5 folder to the root of the USB drive. And that will get that installed. And now we can restore that backup on the PS5 by simply unplugging the USB drive and plugging it into the PS5. On the PS5, we're going to head into our settings. We're going to go down to System, System Software, Backup and Restore. And then, of course, you can back up your own PS5 first so that you don't permanently lose any data on the console. You can always restore your own backup that you make sometime later on if you ever want to get your applications and save data back in the future. So that's always an option, is to make a backup first. I would recommend doing that before restoring this backup, because last warning, this will factory reset your console by restoring this backup. So I would make your own backup first. Now we go to Restore Your PS5, we select our USB drive, and there's the Yarpe plus P2JB, we just select it, and we select the option to restore. And that will restore the backup file that contains the modified save file for the game to load the exploit. You also do not want to restore the backup file if you have a digital version of the game installed, because it will deactivate the license preventing you from launching the game. So only do the backup method if you have a physical disk copy of the game. But now we'll look at the alternative method if you have an activated account, which will allow you to install the save file and get the exploit up and running without resetting your console. Okay, so for this method, what we need to do first of all is load up the game and create a new dummy save file for the game. So we're going to start and create the save file. So we'll just get into the beginning of the game here, and then we can press start and head down to the save option. And we're going to select the first save slot. So save slot 1 here, we'll go ahead and create a new save file, and then we can return to the game. And now we should be able to just exit out of the game now that we have created our save. And now we want to export that save to the USB drive by going into the settings, going down to Save Data and Game App Settings. Make sure you have a USB drive plugged in. Head to Save Data on PS4, upload or delete from console. Select your USB drive, and we want to select the game, Arcade Spirits, the New Challengers, and copy it to the USB. So if you are finding that you're getting a notification saying you have to be signed in whenever you go to copy to USB drive, and make sure you are properly disconnected from the internet on the console and then reboot the console, and you should get the option to copy to USB drive if your account is properly online activated. So that should be us. So now we can unplug that USB drive and plug it into our computer. So back on the computer with the USB drive open, we have this PS4 folder, Save Data, and then your account ID folder. So rename the account ID folder, copy the account ID, and then in garlicsaves.com, this is the website we're going to use to manipulate the save data and get the modified save file installed. You can just head to this website and create a free account. And once you have the account created, you can go to the dashboard section and create a profile, enter a profile name, and then paste in the account ID underneath and add that profile, and that will create the profile for you. Then we want to go to the decrypt section here to decrypt our save file. To do this, we're going to go back into our USB drive, go into all of the folders here for the USB save, and then drag and drop the save data into the decrypt save, both of the files, and then we can go ahead and click Start Decrypt, and that will decrypt the save data for us. So we just wait for that to complete. Should only take a few seconds. There we go. Download the result. And then once you open up the download, we have save data 00 we can extract. And this contains our decrypted save data. If we open this up, we have our decrypted save. So now we just need to get the save file from the release. So again, go to the release page. Instead of the backup file, we want the save.zip file here. So download that. I have it on my desktop here. So we open this up, and then we open up the save file for the modified save with the exploit, highlight all of the files in here, and extract them into the save data 00 folder that contains our original save, and that will get the modified save file installed. So once that's done, we then need to encrypt this back into a workable save for the console. So we can do this by going back to garlicsave.com, selecting the encrypt option this time, and then of course we also want to tick our profile. So the profile we added, we want to select it, and then drag and drop the save data folder into Garlic Saves and encrypt. And that will turn this back into an encrypted save file for the console. So if it's still running after a few minutes, you can just click the refresh button and then the download option should appear if the process was successful. In this case, it refreshed by itself. So there we go. We can download the result and we can open up our save file. So this is the save file that was exported. Okay, so we have our new save file downloaded from garlicsaves.com, the encrypted version. So all we need to do is get rid of the old save from the USB drive, delete the PS4 folder, and then copy the PS4 folder from the one you downloaded into the USB, into the root of the USB, and that should be everything we need. Now to test to make sure we're fully jailbroken once we have everything set up, I also have this Homebrew folder I created, and I put a PlayStation 5 game backup in this folder, Returnal, so we'll see if this works once we have the jailbreak running. And of course, as always, I will copy a PS4 fake package into the root of the USB as well for testing to see if we can also get this installed and running once we're jailbroken, and that will prove that we are fully jailbroken once we have this running. So anyway, once we've got everything prepared there, we should be good to go. So we can unplug that USB drive and plug it back into the PS5. Okay, so back on the PS5, we go into the settings, we scroll down to Save Data and Game App Settings, Save Data on PS4, copy or delete from USB drive this time, and then we're going to select the save data that's on the USB and copy it over to the internal storage, and that will get our exploit save installed. So now when we run the game, it should load the exploit, but before we do that, we need to go into the settings and go to Network, set up an internet connection, connect to the internet and set up the internet connection, press Options under your registered network, whether that's wireless or wired, and go to Advanced Settings, and then scroll down to the DNS settings, set it to manual, and set the primary DNS to 127.0.0.1, and then click OK. But we'll say that it failed to connect to the internet there, but it should be connected. We should have an IP address, which we can check by going to System Software Console Information. You can see we have a valid IPv4 address there that you want to note down. So once we have all of that information, we can go ahead and run the game. Looks like we have to manually load it, so we're going to go down to load, and, well, pretty obvious which one it is. The only save file we have here, which is going to be the picture of the cat there, so we're going to select X to load it, and that is going to start the exploit. There we go. Listing on the PS5's IP address on port 9025 for the Stage 2 payload. So once you see that, we are ready to send over the jailbreak to the console, so switch over to your computer, run netcat GUI or some other payload injector that you can use, and then we just need to grab the p2jb.py file from the project and drag it in here into netcat GUI, and then enter the PS5's IP address in the host box here. Port number was 9025, and click Inject Payload. And when we click Inject Payload, we should start to see stuff happening on the console. We get P2JB 1.0. So after a few seconds after worker spawn, we get the leak phase showing up here, and it says Stage 3 persistent worker spawned. E to A is 52 minutes roughly, so give or take a few minutes. It's going to take roughly 50 minutes to run through this exploit because patience to jailbreak does take quite a while to load, up to 50 minutes. So you just have to wait for the 50 minutes, and then we should start seeing some other stuff happen after the 50-minute timer has elapsed. Okay, and 50 minutes later, if you do get a successful run without it crashing, if it crashes, it's obviously unsuccessful and you'll have to reload it and try then. But on a successful run, you should see all of the notifications start popping up here as it is running through the jailbreak. When it's done, it will enable the debug settings and it will say that the payload was executed successfully. You have to wait quite a while because there's quite a few notifications that pop up with this initial version, and the last one should be the one where it actually runs the ELF loader. So the ELF loader should be listening on your PS5's IP address once it loads successfully. So at this point, all we need to do once we have everything complete and it says payload executed successfully at the bottom, we should be all good. So at which point we can then go ahead and press the PS button, head over to the home page and close out of the game. And if it's still running, then we should be good. We can see if we go into settings, we have the debug settings enabled. So now we can run our payloads. So we just open up netcat GUI again, change the port number from 9025 to 9021 for the main jailbreak payloads. And I'll leave these payloads linked in the video description. We can drag in the Blu-ray and patching payload and send that over to the console, and that will unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak. So you have another potential method of jailbreaking your console with a Blu-ray disc. So we do that. Then we can also send Shadow Mount Plus. If we send that over, that's for mounting our PlayStation 5 game backups. So I'll just plug my USB drive back into the console here, and it should detect the game that I put on there, which was Returnal, and it'll detect Returnal, and it should mount it automatically for us. So there we go, batch install queued. Returnal is detected with Shadow Mount Plus, and then it will install it for us, and it will create the shortcut on the home page. So there it is right there. And then finally, we also want to, of course, send over KStuff Lite. So I'll drag KStuff Lite into netcat GUI and send that over as well. And that is us basically fully jailbroken at this point. We have KStuff, which allows us to run our Homebrew applications, as well as our PS5 game backup. So we can run Returnal with KStuff running, and that should run no problem. There it goes. So the game is loaded. So we are able to run our PlayStation 5 game backups. That's the one that is stored directly on the USB drive. So we'll close out of that and also try and install our PS4 fake package by going into the debug settings, game, and then package installer. And then we just install the Minecraft package that's on the root of the USB drive. And once that's done, it should allow us to run it. There is ready to play. We can play it. And KStuff Lite allows us to run the game. And that is basically it. So as you can see, we have the jailbreak fully set up. We're able to unpatch the Blu-ray jailbreak with this and be able to use it just to jailbreak the console generally up to firmware 12.70. So now you can jailbreak up to 12.70 with Star Wars Racer Revenge, with the Japanese Lua Artemis Engine games, and with Arcade Spirits The New Challengers as well. So lots of different ways. And of course, you have the YouTube application, which you can use to jailbreak it up to firmware at 12.40, but if you want to jailbreak up to 12.70, you need to use one of the alternative methods like one of these specific games here that you can use. So anyway, that's going to do it here for this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video or found the information useful. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. And as always, I will hopefully see you guys in the next one.